friends, I'm RockyOutcrop. This is a crypto technical analysis video. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. In today's video, we're going to be looking at more than just the one coin. Okay, we're going to look at Bitcoin, Chainlink, Ethereum, and Tezos, maybe some other alts as well thrown in the mix, just to give ourselves a better idea of where we're going and looking across the markets rather than being myopic and just focusing on one coin in order to put our fingers on the pulse of the overall industry. And also, by the way, so that if you want to see individual videos for each particular coin that you're interested in, by all means check out the previous videos I put out about those, because they're all still absolutely relevant for what we're going through right now. So you'll get a better insight there if you want to dig deeper after watching this one, of course. And I can start off here quite briefly with Bitcoin and just say that we need to see the prices going back up above 9333, closing up in those areas for the day, just so that we can not have a valid Fibonacci retracement towards the downside. But indeed, actually, if we look down the time frames, then an open and a close below this price here, on even just on the 4-hour time frame, we start to get my hackles raised about the direction of the market. Now, of course, I have no bias. We have no bias in these things at all ever, but I would say then that this is what the bulls need to see happen in order to see the prices go towards the top side. So I can kind of sum it up just like that, real neat and quick, and then we'll come back and dive into it a bit quicker. When it comes to the Ethereum coin, what we're looking at is just can the prices manage to stay up above the 242 area, which they are doing so far, all very well. They've wicked down as far as 241.50 today, and you can see the 4-hour time frame up there, covered up by the A, up there above that area. And of course, the bulls, what the bulls are looking for is to move up above this downward sloping orangey line we have in the background, and to get up to that 248 area and challenge the previous highs that we've had in over here, 248.85, as you can see, then move towards the top side. Of course, that's versus the US dollar. When it comes to Ethereum and Bitcoin, to compare those two against each other in the head-to-head race, the chicken race, the chicken drive, or whatever you call it. What do you call those things? Chicken? Whenever one's running at the other? I don't know. The fight to the death. By the way, if I didn't introduce myself, I'm RockyOutcrop. I do daily technical analysis for cryptocurrency, and I like a good cup of tea. So, yeah, looking at this here, just bring up the oscillators. You can see we don't have that bearish divergence between these two highs on the 4-hour time frame necessarily. No, we're all right for that. On the 24-hour time frame, how are we doing though? If this price action is higher, it's not quite higher, but you can see us coming in perhaps with a touch of the old bearish divergence here. Should we find the prices turning out to have a sort of doubly top area, then well, there you go. But of course, this is Ethereum versus Bitcoin, and those two are operating more in sort of harmony than with more correlation between them than, of course, those two versus the alt market. So we can kind of just then flick on over towards the that's the CME, sorry, towards the Bitcoin dominance chart and take a look at that. So of course, this dominance chart that includes things like Ethereum and whatever else as well. So I don't like to put to base this too much. Maybe at one time in the past this was more useful than it's going to become, and you can imagine as this develops and evolves over the years that this would become less and less relevant, because there's already more than 2,500 odd cryptos listed on CoinMarketCap and all the rest of it. I'm not 100% sure where this is getting its data from exactly, but I would just say that relying on this too much is kind of throwing caution to the wind. However, there are things to be learned from it, and we can see that maybe we're finding our feet in here, in or around these low 60s areas. So if I just go up towards, say, the weekly time frame, so we can get a better sort of handle on this real quick, you can see that down here in the low 60s in the past we've found support, and then the maybe even including this period here in April as well. So like looking back to April, looking back to February, stuff like that. Now, does this necessarily bode well for the overall industry? No, not really. You can't really take pricing data really clearly from this. As you can see, we had this rise in the Bitcoin coin dominance from this period of sort of, say, let's call it the 17th of February up to the 16th of March. And if we just jump over to the Bitcoin charts and we look back towards, the mid-February area from the 17th of February up towards the 16th of March, you can see the prices of Bitcoin itself dropped off by more than 60% during that chunk of time. So I would say that the Bitcoin dominance is only so useful. It's useful to provide context for the bigger picture, But in terms of actually managing to make trades off the back of it, it's not particularly useful. So then diving on over towards Link, what have we managed to do? Well, we spoke about the 84K area, and it was not respected. It was disrespected by the pricing. And if we zoom on in, we can see that the prices so far are actually managing to stay above where we have this 236 coming in at 80,000, 81,000 area, 80,000 and something area. It's actually just below it currently. So this is where I'd want to see the prices not, sink down past. If we do look past that point, then of course we could be looking down at the 75K as we've come in on over the last couple of days. That's the weekly chart there. It's actually, when you look at Link now, it has been up here for a while. That exuberance that we felt on the way up here is now actually a couple of weeks old. Time flies. Time's fun when you're having flies. So yeah, just like bearing in mind that as time's going on, then the initial exuberance of the parabolic move up towards the top side wears off somewhat. You get a little bit more realism, perhaps in there, and then we can look towards these targets. Now, what has happened with the prices is it's come down as far as the 75K area, where we've had profit taking target on this one quite a few times, and now it's actually moved back up, and we're finding ourselves just at the feet of the 236 Fibonacci there. So if we can climb up past its ankles and close off there, then maybe then this first sort of that purple line, the Jimi Hendrix come Scarface purple lines, profit taking line, maybe that's all as far as it'll go to, overall, and that was fair enough. So maybe we've made that move and we can move towards the top side. But I think we'd have to look down towards the lower time frames to make an assessment of this downward move, this sort of the trend, you could say, that opened up on the 16th of July. Bearing in mind that today's what, the 22nd? Yeah, the 22nd of July. So 6 days, the last week's worth of price action. We'd have to look down the time frames to get a bit of better handle on that. The same story obviously over here versus the dollar as well. As you look at it, coming in back to the 1618s that we said, it could very easily do. And so far, the three levels then towards the downside, well, all of them, of course, have been hit, even including today. Yes, down there at $7.09. Find the prices back up. They find themselves back up at 747 at the minute. So to say that there's no volatility and that can't be traded would be wrong. You could just alone have used these three numbers here to base your trading off for the last few days. If you're looking to get in and out and just make make your margins there on that one. But yeah, we still haven't found exactly where we're going to be heading next quite yet. So we'll have to look down the time frames. Looking over towards Tezos, and I know that I'm just going through here doing this sort of headlines at the minute, and we will break things down, by the way, a little bit more. But this is kind of useful, I think, to folkies out there, just to get a kind of look first off at where we are, because maybe you're interested in one or two of the other coins and you wouldn't otherwise look, so you can spare a minute or two for each one, and then we'll go back and go through them properly. Maybe after I've published as well, I'll put chapters in there so you can skip around a bit. I don't know, not making any promises, but I check down below just to see if there's chapters. If you get a little bit kind of if you lose your attention, if I speak so poorly that you can't stand listening to me anymore, jeepers, right, I got it out. Okay, so looking at the Bitcoin pricing, we've managed to get the prices to move back above the 382 over here. The wick down here, and we touched off of this line. It's quite clear to me when I look at the charts that that's the 50% Fibonacci retracement line in here, and that you can look to the left and find areas where we've come up as high as that. As part of this sort of, our first stab towards the top side here back in June before sinking down, then retrying it again. We found resistance in there, and we can see here as well with this green candle on our way down in May that this was also an inflection point in there at 3,150, let's call it, and that's where the prices have been down at. Well, actually, let's call it 3,125 because that's where the prices have been at today, and then moved towards the top side since. So in terms of this one, we've had the same pullback, similar chat to Link. So you can see that we've kind of got two of each on the go. We've got the Bitcoin and the Ethereum's kind of going with a similar sort of mindset, or walking hand in hand. And then you've also got Link and Tezos kind of going hand in hand, two at the minute. Now, this of course is not an all-time high territory, but it does speak to the sort of the ebbs and flows of the market. Look at these tidal forces. Looking over at the USD prices, again, yes, too much noise. Yes, definitely need to delete some of this off the chart. Definitely. Excuse me. I did say that I would do it after filming yesterday, then proceeded not to. So there you go. I'm sorry. I should have done my homework. I didn't do my homework. I'm sorry. The dog ate it or some crap. Yeah, what we want to see here in terms of this is, of course, the prices to be above $3, where we have, you know, a psychological level and various lines coming in at, and then thereafter up at $3.08. I think if you've been trading this against the dollar pairing over the last wee while, then you'll know that there's like a kind of a handful of little kind of points to be aware of in the market around these different prices. You know, the 270, 280, 290, $3, 310, 320, 330 would be kind of how you do it. Of course, those are not precise levels. They're kind of I'd say stuff like $3.08, you know, and stuff like that more. But we're operating between these things, and again, like I said before, we'll have to look down the time frame to see how this sort of last week of trend has gone. In terms of the upward side, half of it, you know, we managed to get up to these heights without that bearish divergence. The same story, by the way, applies on what do you call them? Chainlink, but on the lower time frames we saw this bearish divergence come in here, so that's fed on up the way, but it's not actually, you know, resulted in bearish divergence on the 24-hour time frame. It's just that it's there. We can look at this versus Ethereum as well, for all those neck boot stompers who want to put their boots on the neck of Ethereum and make it eat dirt. 4-hour time frame, we're above the 21 EMA, above the basis line. You know, we have to ask, can we get above 124270? So we're a wee bit below that at 122900 at the minute, so that we can actually sort of see if this is a trend towards the top side. Because of course, as this stands at the minute, if it's just sank back down the way, then all that would be, you know, lower highs, part of a trend of lower highs and lower lows, and then you'd be looking down to, will we go down below 0.01169113? And thereafter on perhaps down to the 112585 number. But you know, overall in terms of this thing, we've got questions from different sort of time frames. If you look at the 24-hour time frame, you see that we came down here and tested the 200 simple, following over from the death cross on the 24-hour time frame, and so far these are fairly shallow. You know, there's not a great deal of depth between these, and the slope just isn't there really on either of them quite so much at the moment. So it's not like so as time goes by, this hasn't been ripping off towards the downside and spreading out and making it look like it'd be hard to undo it, and just maintaining price action above the 200 simple will also, you know, be above the 50, and we can start to see things turn around. I suppose what people like to look at on the channel from time to time is going on the measuring stick, you know, and you can see that this is 50 bars back from where we are now over there. So this price action was higher than it, which means that we're going to see a lower tick on the 50 unless the price action moves up higher than this point here. But then thereafter, what we have is a big chunk of lower price action followed up with this rise up. So we could expect to see a rising of the moving average over here. You know, all this higher price action has been worn off, and this is how we could see this dynamic evolving for us. If you want to sort of keep your finger on the pulse, as we say, of that one, we'll probably not come back to visit in a hurry. So then the altcoin market. How's the altcoin market doing? And the altcoin market is an interesting one, isn't it? So you've got different dynamics on the go. Algo here, for instance, looking like it's benefited along the same sorts of lines as Link and Tezos recently, putting in terms of 24-hour time frame a nice green candle here at the minute. I say nice, it's not particularly nice, it's just not red, which is what's nice about it. As you can see, this is lower than this little inflection point over here. The big term question asks about whether or not, you know, this was actually a low or not on the way up here. It's not really, it doesn't really constitute one in terms of 24-hour time frame. If we go down to the 4-hour time frame, then we can see various lows in here, and we've actually managed to just simply equal this in terms of the 4-hour time frame rather than really putting in a lower low. So that's a good thing, right? And then we can draw we can just sort of put a couple of parameters around it in this zone here, you know. Maybe that's maybe that's the overlap there is going to be confusing to people. Just kind of saying where the prices are going to be in this time frame, and are they going to go up past this. So if we if the price action comes up here and then sinks back down again, then what you'd have would be a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder there, as you can see. So that would be a head and shoulders, which would be a reversal pattern, etc., etc. So I think that it's quite. So if you were to look for sort of three areas towards the top side, the first one would be where the 21 EMA is, for instance, on the 4-hour time frame. The next one would be those are supposed to be little arrows. They're really bad. Let me see if I put a tick there instead. No, can I do it? Can't use the mouse for this. Right, okay. 21 on the 4-hour time frame. So we want to see the prices first off move above that. All the zeros, 3779, versus the Bitcoin prices. And so what, 30. Every time I film, it's the afternoon, right? And they're just loving it. For some reason outside there, it's worse than it has been for quite a while because not some reason, but the roadworks and whatever else. So while I used to complain about, and I'd make a video here and I'd say, oh, they just stop right outside my window, how annoying. You just wish they'd stop a wee bit further back. Now they can kind of pick up there and start there because there's roadworks going on outside. And, well, I don't know. I mean, I just wish we had the cute Dutch ambulances and whatnot that go bleep, bloop, bleep, bloop, or whatever. The next level would be the 3888 sort of area where that basis line is, but we really would need to be the next level afterwards comes in at sort of around this point here of the 4000, where you would be putting in a right hand shoulder. Moving past that, a failed pattern's as good as a confirmed one. That'd be quite nice to see, and of course you'd be looking towards your previous highs thereafter. The top end of the Bollinger bands in there at that sort of 4200 level, and if we're looking against it versus the dollar price, and then you could say the same thing as well. Will we get a shoulder coming in here somewhere in that area and preventing us from going higher, or will we be able to go up to there's a top side, undo the pattern, and maybe even put in a higher top over there? And we had the divergence between this high and this high here on the RSI, and here on the stochastics, and here on the DMI. You don't really need me drawing this in, but it's handy for people, I suppose. So we had that 4-hour divergence showing up there, which has led to this price action coming towards the downside. Positive things to take note from it are, that so far not a lower low on the 4-hour, perhaps allowing oscillators, I can't spell this word, to reset. I got it, did I? Could has potential for 4-hour H and S. Pattern failure is as good as pattern confirmation. And well, various other things, right? I mean, I'm sure you could come up with various other things yourself as well. You don't need me to be doing it all. A couple of things that we have here as well, to bear in mind during this phase here of the potential head and shoulders is the downward sloping trend of volume overall, although it has slightly got a bit higher on the right hand side towards the left, but overall you could say that it's downward sloping. So we will be looking towards those key inflection areas. Oh no, I don't want to undo that. Let me back in to type on this, please. TradingView, confirmation. Okay, and I'll just delete the brush tool this way instead. So yeah, all that's what we're kind of looking to at the minute across the markets there so far, and I'm sure I could probably put in a couple more altcoins to give us a bit of context, because there's ones that have been performing slightly differently. There's the ultra low liquidity crap coin, which is hot, but when you go up towards the bigger time frames, you get actual when you go towards the bigger time frames, like the weekly time frame, then you get stuff that looks like an actual sort of chart on there instead of it just being entirely doji wicks, although it still seems to be like 80% dojis. Yeah, but we've moved towards the top side. Are we seeing something different happen here in this coin? Can we break above the 55 EMA? Can we move up above these targets that we had on the chart so long ago, talking about all this? When we came up above the 236 over here at 6, we went above the 382 at 7, we came up towards the 50% at 9. We've actually touched in the last couple of days, or last few weeks, sorry, I should say a couple of weeks ago now, this 10 area where we have the 618 coming in at. But if we can move towards above and beyond that, then that'd be quite good. And do I have the 1618 on that? No, I don't, but we can come back and look at that some other time. If you want me to look at it, let me know in the comments down below. So I'll just do a couple more of these alts before moving on and doing the detailed look at things. Okay, I hope you're enjoying the show, by the way. If you're getting some value from this, then please do hit that subscribe button and that like button, and remember to share it with your friends. Of course, you can hit the share button and use the timer thing if you want to share a specific section of the video with your friend or whatever. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, though. You just do what you like. So right, what I'm wanting to show here, for instance, you got some coins that are still performing really extraordinarily well in the market, such as Band. It's come up here without the divergence on the go and on the RSI and the DMI, but it is there on the stochastics just about, but not it's okay. And that's been doing really well, so that's one to keep an eye out for. You know, there will be some pullback at some point in the future, but it's not happened just yet. I've got a Fibonacci here. I could probably just stretch on up to accommodate this most recent price action, and you could easily say then that versus the US dollar tether token coin thing, that old-fashioned one, if we're staying above 425, then things are all kind of good towards the top side on that one. You know, that's looking decent. Raven, the coin that flyers to deceive, bear in mind that throughout its history and everything else, it's just been a real downward tank. But somebody did say it's a dark horse. You know, maybe it is. We're still just in flux. We've got other things to look at. VET, for instance, VET's had its pullback, or has it had it, or has it not? It was one of the earlier movers, I suppose you could say, in terms of this alt season. Woo! And then it's pulled all the way back to a couple of the targets that we had in mind. I'd have to change the time frame and the zoom level and all this to get this to yeah, there we go, circles around my Fibonacci retracements as I made that video. I've just left them on there, but we can see over here that we've had that happen, coming down to this line here. God, fail. Coming down to the 236 there, you can see, and then on down to the 50% line on the bigger Fibonacci, you know, the bigger picture one, and then we found support there potentially. So is that right? Have I just said that right? Yeah, I have said that right. That's cool. And at the 382 where that lines up with as well. So then afterwards. Afterwards, you know, if the prices can establish themselves above 175, you know, again properly, this is versus US dollar, then we could maybe see it moving towards the top side, you know, and if it don't, then they don't. We found support at the 21 EMA, the basis line of the Bollinger Bands and all the rest of it. Then we can look towards a couple of lines. Really, I would just kind of, if you want to ignore the Fibonacci's and everything else that are on there, I would just kind of look towards the 20 cent level. I mean, if we go up past that we can call that very bullish, and if we go down below 15 cents, then we could call that quite bearish, right? And then your subsequent targets thereafter would of course be like 11 and a half, and towards the top side perhaps 25, you know. So like lots of good stuff there to be had. What about Zilliqa? Do I want to look at anyone? What about Cardano? People want to see Cardano, and I never think to look at it. Do I have it on my favorites here or not? Just let me see if I have it on my favorites. It looks like I don't. I do have one, by the way. One was one I wanted to share with people because it's done well over the last wee while. Take a look at that. We had to talk about this back down in these areas down here. And subsequently it's come up and 3x in price since then or more, so that's nice. Anyway, it still seems to be doing well enough in the post mainnet launch of its thing. It's kind of going towards the top side. Bit of bearish divergence here in the stochastics. It's not quite there on the RSI. It's premature to say that yet though. Anyway, but you know, it's not there in the RSI quite yet. But anyway, natural pullbacks. As you can see, this thing's had this organic-ish up stair stepping towards the top side, you know, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like a pullback on this thing down towards 70, which is a fair distance away from where it is now. It's over 10%, you know, but then we could continue towards the top side thereafter. Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, Cardano. This thing's gone on for way longer than I wanted to, and I've been quite brief on each of the coins that I've looked at so far. Let me know, by the way, if you enjoy this format down below in the videos. For the last couple of weeks, I've done this on a Wednesday so that you could get a broader look across the market and kind of feel like, you know, there are some things that are going up, there's some things that are going down. This is a nice golden cross here on the daily time frame. I do say that these things often get revisited as well, and if that were to happen, you'd be looking at a big old drop down in the price. So maybe if we see the prices come down to these levels and up and down again, we could look at this and say, is this going to ultimately turn out to be a left shoulder and then a right shoulder and whatever else? But I'd like to see some divergence at the same time as that happening if we did want to come down to hit this 50 simple. People will probably want to look at it versus not on Kraken. Kraken's the worst. What about Binance versus Tether? How about that? Stick it on. Maybe I should look at it versus the Bitcoin. Yeah, for a bit of context. On Binance as well, they can both go on there. So yeah, cool. Okay, it's not that dissimilar story to what we were looking at with One and how it's had decent enough, but yeah, it's come up here and it's put in its latest high with 24-hour bearish divergence, so that is there. This is what I'd look to in the future of other coins if it's like that, if it has that touch of that on the go. This is a bearish divergence in 24-hour time frame. It's got a shoulder here, a head here. If it wanted to have a head and shoulders on the chart, then it could do so. If it doesn't make it above 13 or up to 14 cents in the next wee while, I'd say maybe that's rough, 13 to 13 and a half or something like that. Then it could maybe make that a failure, and then go up towards the top side. The Bollinger Band comes in there at 14. You'd expect it to get caught in amongst that level if it was to move past it, so that would be the targets on that one. But that's quite broad. People are talking about big percentage moves, though, overall, considering it's such a low number to begin with. Likewise over here versus the Bitcoin. So this then we can take us back to the. If you hear a bidum noise, by the way, from time to time, that's because it's the Discord. The Discord's getting more people chatting and stuff from time to time, so be sure to join that. There'll be a link in a pinned comment down below. So yeah, this here is kind of sometimes good for keeping our fingers on the pulse of the sort of altcoins versus Bitcoin market. Having a few little snapshots are cross, and then to go and compare it to a cross section like the Bitcoin dominance chart and see how it's performing. So we've had a pullback here as a result of that, and let's go down then to the 4-hour time frame. Pardon me, itchy nose, don't know why I'm saying pardon me. The downward trend here, bullish divergence on stochastics, so that's quite nice. What have we got here? Potential for that to be happening as well. Potential, no, it's not lower than it. The previous ones were okay. So yeah, I can just kind of, you can see I've got the lines already drawn out on here in this one. That's amazing. When did I do this? Must have been a long time ago. Long time ago. Something. Oh yeah. Anyway, these things last forever, as we know on the channel. If we do go, I'm happy enough to use my old lines here actually, just to skip into this and make it easy to do the analysis for me. If we do go down past this, and continue the downward trend, then I could look down to where our previous lows were after the parabolic potential blow-offy type top up there. Could look towards that 12 area again for resistance, for support. Hear people saying, by the way, out there in the world, the more time that resistance get tested, the stronger it gets. That just doesn't make any sense, right? When you think about it. The stronger it gets, it's quite a binary. It's just words that sound nice. When people say the more times resistance gets tested, the stronger it gets, that's a nice emotional thing to say, and it fits into people's psyches. But the reality of it is that it's a binary concept. Resistance is resistance until it isn't, and then it gets broken. And it isn't really about the amount of times that it gets touched and tested on the way there or not. You just have to approach it with the same way every time that it happens. And if anything, the more times it gets tested, then the more likely it is to break, because by virtue of the fact it's being tested more than once or twice or three times, means that the price, for instance, if it's resistance that you're talking about, or no, say it's support, right? The price has gone up past support, come back down, tested it, then it's gone up again, it's come back down and tested it. So then some people say the more times it gets tested, the stronger it gets. Then what they're saying is it's just going to keep on hitting it, and it's not achieving any momentum towards the top side and whatever else. So if anything, it's a fallacy, and it works the other way around, and that the more times it gets tested, then the weaker it gets, right? If you want to call it, if you want to be like that about it, then at least do it from the way that makes sense when you engage your brain and think about it, because it's a binary concept. concept, and the more times it gets tested shows you that there's this reluctance in the market to move away from the resistance or move away from the support and to trend in one direction or another. So the less times it gets tested, then you could say that the stronger the resistance was, or the stronger the trend was, in order to move away from that resistance, and therefore, you know, the weaker the trend is if it's getting tested multiple times. And really what you ought to do is look at the context of those tests, look at the bit broader picture, if there's some sort of pattern around it, so, you know, if there's an ascending triangle and the run up to it, you know, stuff like that, what's happening, how the oscillators are going, you know, is open interest changed, maybe we've had, you know, short hunts, stop hunts, whatever. Think about things. British Airways Avios. Top up your British Airways Avios today and get away sooner. Thanks, Brave. Really looking to topping up my British Airways Avios. Cool. So let's just do a bit of the older, deeper dive then. So I don't know how long this episode is going to last for. Using OBS means I don't get a timer. Let's get a timer up now. How long I've been at it? 30 minutes. Blah. Rank. Way too long a video. And we've not even done all the detailed stuff yet. Well, okay, instead of doing super detailed stuff, let's just kind of instead just do it briefly again or something. Maybe it's just wrap up. Maybe if I've come this far over that much time already, it means that I've already kind of said everything that really needs to be said for the meantime already. Maybe bearish divergence potentially here, yeah, on the stochastics, looking at this high, you know, if you were to call that the previous one, if you were to call this the previous one beforehand, then you would say that there isn't, pardon me, it's not particularly strong, this trend. We know what this Fibonacci was before that I've just clicked on, where we came up to the 216. You can see that in yesterday's video where I was talking about it. We know that this Fibonacci is here, which I'll just move up to onto that wick. And you can see that the 236 there on that one is actually at 9347 instead of 9350, like we were talking about before plenty of times. Going to just ditch that as well. So having gone below that does mean that there's opportunities for it to move towards the downside. If I hadn't undone it, if I hadn't have deleted it, you could see that in at the basis lines where the 50% is, that coming down here and doing lower lows, you know, will start to look like we're at the 382, and the 618 comes in here right at this other line, which is the 236, which is, I've got so much crap on the charts that it makes it really hard to keep my eye on where I'm looking as I go towards the left. There, that one, that 236. Oh my God, it's such a mess. Don't tell me in the comments it's such a mess. I know it's such a mess. Actually, tell you what, here we go. That's a bit better. Go on a different chart. It's like, I don't want to clean my room. I'm just going to take take the spare bedroom. The spare bedroom is my bedroom now. I don't want to look at it on Bitfinex because Bitfinex is crazy. So how about Gemini? What's his price like? See, Bitfinex 9360. Spot price is 9338. It has got that little primo back. Actually, tell you what we can look at in terms of more detailed stuff is we can talk about this gap that's here on the GBTCs. The gaps on the GBTCs do tend to get filled, by the way, just like the ones on the CME charts are, but they don't get the same hype about it all. And also they're, you know, it's less liquid. It's not traded the same way, and it's shitter than the CMEs for various reasons, for looking at just one of which being the pricing of it and stuff like that, and the fact it's a fund as opposed to buying the underlying asset, blah blah blah. This here gap got filled. I had this on the charts before. I don't know if I talked about it much. I moved up here today just so we could look and be reminded that there's where this white line is. You know, there's a gap down here. It goes all the way down to where the 200 simple is at the minute at 942. So if prices are 995 at the minute, so you could imagine the prices coming back down to fill that up. And where would that see us going in terms of the Bitcoin pricing? Well, it would just see us coming back to where we were before. Other little things that we saw and that I wanted to point out recently, and I did point out, and I'm glad I pointed out, was that people were talking about how there's going to be a really, really, really big break coming soon. And sure, there could be, right? But I made the point the other day that it could just be a small one, you know, a relatively big, perhaps compared to the range of the recent price action, but not big enough to go past areas that would change things on the bigger picture, just essentially adds up to more of the same. And that's all that's happened so far. And if we look down the 12-hour time frame, you can see that over here in this section of the 6th of July, 5th to 6th of July, that the Bollinger Bands got really, really tight, and then they got really wide again, then they got really tight. And if we look at the 24-hour time frame, then you can see that that wasn't quite so visible over there, but, or well, whatever. But in this section here, I think I just kind of looked too far back there. In this section here, you can see just kind of got tighter and tighter. Sure, the same sort of thing could happen, you know, and we could just find ourselves doing more of the same. It could happen, is what I'm saying. And it's so far that's all that has happened. Although, of course, we've got the move that we expected as RockyOutcrop to get, which is, of course, the non-crazy variant of the move. You know, the one that's not the FOMO one, the greed-free variant. We've had that, and we've not gone above 9,450 yet and closed above it. That's what we need to see happening for things to move towards the top side. It doesn't really get any more complicated than that. Don't need to go into things in detail. What can we learn then, I suppose? What can we take away from all this? Well, we can take away a few things. One is that we could see a pullback in the alt prices and in the market in general, which leads to an upswing from these lower areas. Oh, sorry, the wrong chart there. Which leads to an upswing from these lower areas of the low 60s, as we've seen in the past, without necessarily seeing the Bitcoin price going up. Okay, we could. If the Bitcoin price goes up, then it would need to go up quite a bit because to change the dominance here, because the altcoins would probably feel like they're getting a bit of a resurgence as well in terms of their momentum at the same time as a result of that going up. So, you know, you can draw your own conclusions from that. What we can also see is that Ethereum and Bitcoin are continuing to work together in some senses. So if we look down towards the low time frames, and I'll just hide all the drawings because I know people feel like it's too noisy, and you can see here this high versus this high wasn't bearishly divergent on the 4-hour time frame. What about the 1-hour time frame? Surely it wasn't the 1 hour. No, it wasn't on the 1 hour. Right, okay, cool. So it was on the stochastics and the DMI, just not the RSI, but it kind of was in the RSI. No, right, whatever. But we don't have that necessarily quite there. Wonder about this. Anyway, yeah. So looking at that and saying, hey, we've not got all loads of crap on there, and then loads of rows of bearish things to look to necessarily on the lower time frames. On the 24-hour time frame, then all we've done actually though throughout this process is come up and put in a lower high. So if the prices don't actually manage to extend on up another sort of, let's just call it $10 for the argument's sake, then you'd end up having, you know, just potential for the downward trend to continue. If it does go up past that area, then you've got good things, because this could be considered to be some sort of W type pattern, W or whatever. Okay, and I can hide all that and can go over to the Bitcoin price and sort of tie that together and say, look, it's not that different, is it? You know, when you look at Bitcoin there on the 1 hour and you look at Ethereum there on the 1 hour, you know, but then if you go over to something else and look at like Link on the 1 hour, quite different. But if you're looking at Link on the 1 hour and you're going over to something else like Tezos, where have I hidden Tezos at? Let's see how similar these two look. Okay, quite different. Yeah, right, okay, cool. But anyway, I'd look between them. So if I'm seeing divergence on one, I'd look for it on the other or whatever to try and just get, you know, confirmation across the markets when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? At the minute, that's what I'd be doing. Nothing great has happened. This here isn't great, okay? It just isn't. It isn't, right? Until such times as it becomes great, it isn't, right? Link Bitcoin, Link, you know, did I go between the Link and the Tezos Bitcoin? The Tezos, I did I? What about Tezos dollars? Looks like that. Link dollars. No, I'm not going to be able to make that point of them looking exactly the same, because they're not. But you can see the similarity there. I think that underlines the similarity between the Ethereum and Bitcoin pricing for us, right? Maybe that's useful takeaway. If you get any value from this video whatsoever, please do hit that subscribe button. I'm looking to get the channel to 1 million subscribers by the end of the month, and I can only do that with your help, your assistance. There, forced to drink a drink of my juice instead of drinking my tea, because my tea will have gone stone cold. Steve Austin. Yeah, what did I want to look at? I wanted to look at this on the lower time frames, you know, and make an assessment of this past trend over the past week. Looks like I'll probably struggle to put chapter titles in this, if I'm honest with you, you know, but looking at this over the past, over the past week, and saying like we've got this downward trend here. Low, 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 low. low over here, the RSI. I'm always doing that these days with the brush. I wish I had a different cursor thing for it. A little bit the old bullish divergence there, perhaps coming in here with these lows. Yep, with these lows. Yep, low bitty dope toes. So we're not getting the continued strength towards the downside. So maybe we're tapering off here. So then to reintroduce that head and shoulders type chat again, which is always the same. It doesn't really matter if it's head and shoulders or not. It really doesn't matter about the pattern aspect of it. What matters is the fact that you've found a few pivot points and looking at the interaction of the price between those areas as it moves up and down. On retrospect, that was such a nothing statement. But it isn't about the pattern so much necessarily as it's about how we achieve certain zones and inflection points, pivot points in the market, and whether we do that with momentum and not, and the patterns and everything else on top. And then you can kind of put everything into context other than just being myopic about things. I am looking here towards these two lines here at the $8.30 then for the next area. If we do start to move towards the top side, just maybe make this line up a little bit better. Then first off, we need the prices to go up above. As you can see, they're being resisted by in terms of the body at 746, where we have the 236 at. So we really do need to push up above that. Got a little confluence of crap in around the middle line here, where the basis line is of the Bollinger Bands, such as the 21 and the 55. The 21's curved around and just managed to not cross over it on the 4-hour time frame. So we don't have that negative cross yet, which we normally would be looking out for, in terms of an indicator of trend. As you can see, when they cross back over somewhere back in amongst all that muck, it went towards the top side. If it crosses here, then it might be an indicator of more sort of continuation towards the downside, especially in the sense the prices are in kind of touching around it as well, and it's getting those tests of it at the same time. So we can look towards that middle line, sort of 760, moving up towards the top side. The first profit taking targets would come in at in terms of if you're looking for a continuation of this trend, sort of a fake out of the move upwards. If you're to say that this was never really the previous high and that it was actually this one here, and that I fooled you, we're still in a downward trend. That's indicated here by the 50 simple and the 50% retrace line on this one, and that would be at 795. But then moving beyond that, the golden pocket zone, I would expect to see profit taken and price action questioning itself in around that time, having a bit of a Hemingway existentialist moment there. And then it'll either put the shotgun in its mouth in its house in Florida, I believe, or else it'll become one of the haves or whatever instead of the have-nots, and move towards the top side and say a farewell to shotgun arms. There we go. There's some nice Hemingway references. Hope you like that. Smash the like button if you're a fan of Hemingway. And that's what I'm looking at on that one. Otherwise, I'm just kind of essentially looking towards the previous lows over here at 711, like we spoke about numerous times, and then we could enumerate other targets there past that if we wanted to, looking at the previous price action. But I'm not going to. I'm just going to just move on from that one and go to Tezos again. Once again, Tezos till you Bezos, baby. 4-hour time frame. Looking at this is our previous high, right? Did I already talk about all this crap? Probably already did. This is our previous high in here at 32.58. So that's 3,258 if you use the TradingView number format, and I think that actually is 32,000 satoshis. There we go. Another few weeks gone by, and still nobody is confirmed with me in the comments whether or not it's Satoshi. I know that lots of you know it, and you're choosing not to say it because you think it's funny or something like that. And that I could obviously find out myself. I mean, I'm looking at this and I see there's 3 zeros here, right? And I know this, and I know if I go over to other ones and I see that there's 4 zeros, right? And that probably is 3,725 satoshis, and this is probably 31,930 satoshis. I know this, but I'm not going to confirm it because you've got to have something, you got to leave a little bit of something there to do, research wise. You don't want to open up all your Christmas presents early, do you? So I'm still looking between this and the green grass of home S to 2 homes. The Irish grass, Scottish grass, 618 area that we've spoken about so many times in this zone here towards the top side in the 34,000 area, where of course we could be getting in a right hand shoulder if indeed this doesn't turn out to be the right hand shoulder in and of itself, in which case you need to look towards the neckline, which is down here. Let's just call it where the 50% is. Actually, we'll just put a little zone in here. Should I use one of these boxes? I mean, it's good to do the boxes from time to time, so I'll do a little box in here. Boom. Woo! And that's what I'm going to call the neckline area for that. And if it did break down past that, then we could be going down towards these 2,800 levels and stuff like that we were at before that we talked to death. Same chat over here. I'm just going to stick that box in again. Yeah, it's a little bit further down, perhaps, that box, in a sense. We could have it just going down to about that zone. Maybe that's wrong positioning for it. More like there. Going down below this area could lead to a breakdown in the pricing, and of course, you just eyeballing this thing, it would take you down towards where we have like the 786 and stuff like that over there at the 250s area, 240, 250. But there's a lot of stuff in between, of course, you know, an awful lot of stuff in between. And in fact, I'd probably still say that's too generous. Let's just do it. Let's just do it without the eyeballs. Still say it's too generous. Okay, we'll not say it's too generous. That 250 area or whatever is what I was talking about. Yeah, okay, that's where that would take you down to, in and around that zone there, if it needed to. Man, there's so much noise in these charts. Look, I will delete the noise off these charts soon enough. Just, you know, I'm aware that 99 out of 100 of the supporter sort of subscribers out there know all this junk, and they don't need me to worry too much, and they've got their own charts and everything else. Ah, screw it. Let's just do it now. Oh, that's cleaner. Whoa, that changes things. We still got our rectangle there. Still got things. Still got one trend, but yeah, cool. Wait, what's this guy here? Get rid of this guy. Cool. So that's got to be good enough. Ah, the health. You can see why we had all that crap on there before, though. All of it contributed something to the story, I think, to the narrative. We learned a lot looking at it. Let's just do it again over time. We don't need to have it on there. We can do this again, just like you can do it at home yourself. You have that skill. I believe in you. What will we do? We'll just finish off here by saying, by putting a tweet out into the world to remind everybody that you can come follow me. Follow me! Yay! Free prizes. No, we'll not put that on because it's not actually the truth. There aren't any free prizes on the channel. Oh, that was a good Dom Jolly joke on the thing. Did you ever see that Dom Jolly joke? I'm tempted to go on YouTube and look it up. Look up yourself, Dom Jolly, DOM space JOLLY, free prizes. That'll give you that sketch. I'm sure it will. Follow me, yay, for the best crypto TA ever, yay. And we'll put a hashtag on there. Yay! You can see this is the. I don't follow me on Twitter. Great, yeah, great. I don't really care about little Twitter stuff though, but it'd be good to have some more followers and followees and whatever else out there. Got 184. Yes, I've got a round number 100 that I'm following. But let me know if you think I should follow you. I suppose actually, because I don't like all the people that I follow. No offense, I wasn't meaning that specifically towards you. That Martini guy or Matt Greenspine or Shy Fox. I didn't mean that towards you specifically. That just you coincidentally came up there on the charts as I opened it up. That's not, I didn't specifically mean it for you. There's a lot of people on Twitter that I can't really be bothered following though, and a lot of people that I would like to see more of, I'm sure, and all that. So, you know, give me a shout out over there. That's all good. Kind of foot in mouth about aiming at the screen there at the time that I was saying that. Would you buy this altcoin? Let's do this together. Would you buy this altcoin? No, but then again, what is it? And this here, we could, in terms of percentage moves, it'd be easy to get a massive return on this thing before ditching it. But you know, this has only ever been a crap investment. What are you talking about? That's the same with every altcoin in the market, by the way. You have to kind of look at these things in small chunks. I'd say I can't make an assessment based off that chart alone, pal. I'm sorry. What's the people say? Only if you send me Bitcoin, thanks. Lol. I'm only really buying Devault DVT as for alt bags. Do your own research. Devault CC. Do your own research. What did he call it? DVT. DVT. Sounds like something Joe Rogan would smoke. DVT. It's not on TradingView. Do your own research, but don't do it on TradingView. I don't know. Would you buy this? Uniswap.hex.vision. God, I hate the whole hex thing. I hate it all. I hate all the chat around it. It's all annoys the fuck out of me. Tell me the name now. Looking like XRP. Yes. Well, some people will just buy anything. WTC. What the crack? WTC USD. Let's look at this one. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's the same story, isn't it, as all of them. Go up to the weekly time frame. Well, that's only ever been in an uptrend on the weekly. Dozy. But it's only existed since, a couple of months ago, or a few months ago. So how can you make any real assessment off the back of that at all? Wonder what coin it was he was talking about. This totally should have ended ages ago. My stats for this point in the video will be very, very small. By the way, if you are watching it as well, then you're part of a unique crowd. This is just what I do on Twitter. This is why I need to have some other people. So I don't like all the crap. Short-term movement expectation, WTC. I'm looking at WTC. What coin would it have been? I mean, there's so many shit coins out there. I don't even know what these lines mean. I hardly ever go on CoinMarketCap. I mean, which one of them's price and which one of them's whatever? I don't even know what. There's like too many lines on that chart. Hypocrisy for the win. What's Matty saying here? Active cases in his. Oh, this has nothing to do with crypto. Oh, look, there's a dollar coin thing. Yeah, look at that. Yep, that's cool. That's what we're talking about on the Bitcoin. I think it looks better on the CME charts, Matty, because of this June the 1st chat there. We have this all the time on the show. All the time, buddy, all the time. It's easier to do it on the 24-hour time frame on the CME charts because of the June the 1st little wick becomes a wick on the CMEs, whereas over here, then June the 1st is poking outside of it, and instead it turns it into a sort of descending wedge or a descending triangle that you've got, a descending triangle, mishmash. Talked about that so many times I didn't bother talking about it today. So I don't know. I don't like that so much on there, but I do like it on the CME charts. Sure, whatever. Whatever. What else? What else is good on this thing? Should totally ended this video ages ago. Who the hell is Anon? Eh? Link is developing an Ethereum-like run as in 2017. Right? Fractals, by the way, anybody who does this, ignore it. It's completely useless. Will not help you become a better trader. This not help you become a better trader at all. Look, this here. Look at this that we've got. That's similar to this. That is so useless. It's so useless. It's almost immoral. So useless. It's almost immoral. There we go. Speaking the truth, representing for my homies. It's called a breakout pattern. Well, don't come in here and start telling people to look at patterns. This guy was specifically saying it was a fractal and he was using two different assets and comparing it across it. It's eerie how similar they look. There we go. It's eerie. See, it's eerie. Ooh. Can we get a ghost of some sort? Can I search for ghost? Ooh. There we go. Right, that's got to do. Catch you later. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the episode today. It's been fun spending time with you. Yeah, I know I should have stopped filming when I saw that it was 29 minutes in. I know that I should have committed to my promises of doing things in more detail across all of the... I kind of did, I suppose. I know, but we do really great technical analysis on the show. I know I should have also ended it when I said bye there now. We do really great technical analysis on the show. It's really great. And we've got a great Discord. All the Twitter stuff out there, great Twitter stuff, great stuff. Highly recommend you share this with your friends. If you're going back, to meet your family, meet your friends, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever. You're going back to university soon or whatever. You have to do a presentation. Make sure that you have it sponsored by. Of course, I think it would be bad to pay you for this because that would be immoral. Because we're talking about charity essentially and goodwill and helping people and all the rest of it. So I'm not going to. I think that would undermine the message essentially. But make sure no matter what you're doing, if you're getting your car repainted or whatever, make sure you put www.youtube.com/RockyOutcrop on there and share it with your friends. Really do appreciate you tuning in today. Thanks so much. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next episode. It's been fun as ever. Hope you've got some value from it. If you've taken away some value, then make sure you hit that subscribe button to say to encourage me to keep making these things. I've been Rocky Outcrop, and I will still be Rocky Outcrop tomorrow as I come back to do yet another raft of individual videos, I assume, for each particular coin, maybe even a live video. I don't know. Great. See you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in.